My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Okay, today I'm pretty excited. I have my first watch that was lent into the channel for review by a very generous friend who will remain unnamed but knows who they are. So today we have a Hamilton Khaki Field Auto. Now, I've tried on a few Hamiltons at the mall or at different stores, but I've never gotten the opportunity to wear one for an extended period of time and really get to know the watch. So I was excited for this opportunity. And overall, I think this is a pretty solid watch. So as always, we're going to do specifications, pros, cons, and then if I think this watch is worth the money. But before we start, I want to say a quick thank you. The channel has reached 1.5 thousand subscribers, which I was very excited about. However, I just checked today and only 4% of my views are from subscribers. So if you like this channel, I would love it if you would subscribe. Thank you so much. So starting with the case, we have a 40mm case. It is 50mm lug to lug. It's pretty thin, it's only 11.5 millimeters thick, and then we have a 20mm lug width. Now, the stainless steel case is mostly brushed. You have brushing along the sides and brushing along the top. The bezel is high polish, as is the crown. And the lugs on this watch do curve down nicely, which helps with the overall wear. The bracelet starts at 20 millimeters, it does taper down to 18 millimeters, and then it's back up to 21 millimeters at the clasp. The clasp is nice. It's brushed along the top, signed with Hamilton, and high polish along the sides. It has 4 micro positions and a very sturdy double push to plant with a proper milled clasp. The links of the bracelet themselves are high polished down the middle, and the outer links are brushed. Sizing is accomplished with regular split pins, and you do have solid end links on this bracelet. And you'll also notice the bracelet articulates all the way down the back of the watch, and each of the links articulate really well. So it makes this bracelet very comfortable. It's very sturdy and it feels solid on the wrist, but it's not uncomfortable even if you wear it for the whole day. Now, it features an exhibition screw-in caseback, which helps to provide 100 meters of water resistance. And then the movement in this watch is the Hamilton H10. Now, this is an ETA movement with a modified. One of the things they did is they lowered the beat rate from 28,800 vibrations per hour to 21,600. Now, what that results in is a slightly less smoother sweep on the second hand, but it increases the power reserve from around 42 hours to about 80 hours. So this one's going to last you a long time. It will last you over the entire weekend. So if you wore this watch on a Friday and put it down, it would still be running on a Monday, which is a pretty cool upgrade. It also hacks, hand winds, and features the date. You can also see Hamilton skeletonized and signed the rotor, which is a nice feature. And then you can kind of see there's some different colored components there that kind of make the movement interesting to look at. Now, the crown is signed with the Hamilton H. It is only a push-pull crown. It does not screw down. And I know that'll be a problem for some of you. I actually don't mind watches that have push-pull crowns. I understand the value of the screw-down crown and kind of the security, but I tend to not take my watches in the water, so that's not a feature I'm always looking for. It is a nice size and has nice knurling, which assists in hand winding and makes the watch easy to operate overall. Now, the crystal on the watch is ever so slightly domed, and it is proud of the bezel just slightly, you can see there. However, this is a sapphire crystal, so you're really not going to have to worry about scratching it, and I like the choice. I like the dome on this. It gives a little bit more character to the watch. Now, the dial is ever so slightly blue. It's very matte, and to be honest, it looks black in some lights, but when the light hits it just right, you can see that it is a very matte blue dial, which is a fun detail. I think overall this watch has a very tool aesthetic, and I don't think I want to see a bright color here, but it is a fun dial and plays with the light nicely. For the numerals, they just used the Arabic numerals 1 to 12, but you can see the 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock are slightly bigger, which helps with orientation of the watch. And then there's 2 rings. There's an outer ring that designates each of the minutes and further divides them into 5 sections. And then there's an inner ring where you have the 13 to 24 representing the military time, and each of those hours are subdivided into 5 segments. This is something I really like, this design of the watch, and they did a great job of aligning the hands to those 2 rings. One of the pet peeves I have on a watch is when the hands do not seem to be well designed with the other proportions of the watch. But here you can see the the minute hand, this long needle syringe type minute hand is going all the way out to the dashes on that outer ring. And then the syringe hour hand is going all the way to the dashes on the inner ring. And then you also have this long second hand sweep, and that is going all the way out to the outer ring as well. So hands and dial are in perfect proportion with each other, which I like to see. Now the Hamilton branding is a little bit squished and hidden in the inner ring, and then you do have automatic and khaki at the 6 o'clock position of the inner ring, and then Swiss made down at the 6 o'clock of the outer ring. Overall, I do like the design of this dial. They even managed to fit the date in that 3 o'clock position between the two rings, and they didn't clip either of the rings, and they also didn't clip the 3. However, you will notice they dropped at each of the 5-minute locations. They have the 5, 10, 15, 20. They did drop the 15 at that date position to make that all work out, but I don't think that's something you really notice. My only complaint on the hands and dial overall is that I think I would like the hour hand to be slightly bigger. However, seeing as it's perfectly aligned with the rest of the dial layout, I will let it slide in this case. As you can see here, one of the weak points of the watch is the lume. The Arabic numerals and the hands are all lumed, but they fade quite fast. You'll even see me go back and hit it with the black light one additional time, but it just can't keep up with the Redune Turtle, which is one of my watches that has excellent lume. And there is the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrist, 40 millimeters in case diameter. And you can see the 50 millimeter lug to lug basically extends across the whole top of my wrist, but it is comfortable to wear, and I think I can pull this off. Although I would say that is the maximum length, at least for my personal taste, on the lug to lug distance. So pros and cons. Well, first on the positive side, overall the watch feels super solid. There's a sense of quality when you hold it in your hands that's reminiscent of my Steinhardt. It's a little hard to put into words, but it just feels solidly built overall, especially the bracelet, which is very comfortable to wear throughout the day. Second, I love the dial layout. Everything is nicely proportioned between the hands and the dial, and it's extremely legible. And with that slightly matte blue dial, it just is kind of fun to look at throughout the day. How about negatives? I'm not a huge fan of the high polished center links. I think this watch has a nice tooly aesthetic, kind of a field watch, maybe has a little inspiration of aviation watches, but overall I think it would look better if all the links on the bracelet were just brushed. And then as you saw, the lume isn't as strong as I would like. I'm a bit of a lume junkie. If this is a deal breaker for you, you're gonna be unhappy with the lume on this watch, but I know it's not as important to everyone as it is to some people. And then finally, that brings me to the price. Now, is this watch worth the money? So the MSRP of this watch is quite high. It's $745, but you can get one right now on Jomashop for $495. Now, this puts it in line with the Steinhardt, which I alluded to earlier in the pros section. As I said, I felt the Steinhardt is just super high quality overall. And while I think the Hamilton is close, it doesn't quite meet the overall quality of the Steinhardt. And I can't really put into words why. It's just when I hold the two watches together, I prefer the Steinhardt at this price point. That being said, you're getting a Swiss-made watch with a solid movement with an 80-hour power reserve. However, I feel you're paying a slight premium for Hamilton on the dial. So it's really going to be up to you on this one. Hamilton is a storied brand with an interesting history, and this is a Swiss-made watch. So if those things have value to you, I think this is a solid choice. But if you're not as concerned about brand name or history, you can get some of these specifications in some less expensive options. So there you guys go, the Hamilton Khaki Field Auto. What do you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments. As always, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, I invite you to subscribe, and if you like the content of this individual video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Until next time, this is Jason, and you've been watching Just Watches.